All right. So welcome everyone to Murderous March 2024. I'm Tina DeBellegarde and this is Carol Pulio. We are your co-chairs. We're so happy to have you with us for the second day of our event. We have a lineup of wonderful panels. Our guest of honor this year is Edgar Award-winning author Naomi Hirahara. Wave. There we go. Welcome, Naomi. She'll be giving a keynote address immediately after our opening remarks. And also later at 1:15 Eastern, Carol and I will be interviewing her as well. It should be fun and informative. We're really looking forward to have lots of good questions for you.
Lots of questions.
We really want to take a moment and thank our planning committee for all they've done. They have really made this possible for us. I want to give thanks to Jacqueline Bolden, Amy Patricia Mead, Ellen Higgins, Jennifer Moore, Lita Sedaris, Libby Cudmore, Erica Obi, Janet Vine, and Cyril Caslow. You will notice that several of them are going to be on panels today, so please look for them. I want to thank Kim Keyline behind the scenes, behind that logo of the Mavens up there. She is making sure everything runs smoothly and has the webinar under control. We really could not do this. We would not be here without her. A very important message, we have books available for all our presenters, panelists, moderators, the classes from yesterday, Naomi's books. Those are all available for sale through our bookshop that's hosted through Mysteries on Main Street. There is a link on the original website registration page, the information page. And don't forget, you can always look at that page for the itinerary of the day in case you're forgetting time slots or whatever. But also Kim behind the scenes is going to be putting in the chat for every event a link to reach the bookshop for books specific to that event. So in a little while, you'll get a link just for Naomi's books. After that, we'll have the first panel in the chat. You'll get a link just for the books for those panelists. After Naomi's keynote, please stay tuned for our first panel, Why Get Involved with Murder, Creating the Reluctant Sleuth. That's going to be moderated by L.A. Chandler. That's starting at 10:45 Eastern, right after Naomi. And I'm very excited to get started. Carol's going to have a few words for you, and then we're going to move on with Naomi.
Okay, thanks. And welcome again. I just wanted to share some information about the organization that hosts Murderous March, and that's our Sisters in Crime chapter. It's the Upper Hudson chapter of Sisters in Crime, also known as Mavens of Mayhem. We are located, excuse me, in the Albany area, the capital of New York. But honestly, since the pandemic, and we're living on Zoom, we do still have meetings that are hybrid, that people in the area could attend in person, but we are always on Zoom as well. We meet on the third Saturday of every month, except for March, because we have the conference instead. The business meeting for members only is at 10:30 Eastern, and then we go right into our monthly program, which starts at 11:15 Eastern and lasts about an hour. You're all probably familiar with our website by now because that's probably where you went to register and join us today. There are a couple of programs not on the website yet for this year, but they're being fine-tuned and they're coming. If you would like to see what the group is like, you are always welcome to join a program, not the business meeting, but a program at 11:15 at no charge. We are free and open to the public for all of our programs. So I will turn it back to Tina now, and we can move on. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on to Naomi's keynote address. So Kim, there we go. There's Naomi. We're very honored to have Naomi Hirahara as our guest of honor this year. Welcome. We are so happy to have you with us. I want to give the audience a little bit of information about you before you start. Naomi Hirahara is an Edgar-winning author of multiple traditional mystery series and noir short stories. Her Mass Arai mysteries, which have been published in Japanese, Korean, and French, feature a Los Angeles gardener and Hiroshima survivor who solves crimes. Her first historical mystery, Clark and Division, which won a Mary Higgins Clark Award, follows a Japanese-American family's move to Chicago in 1944 after being released from a California wartime detention center. a former journalist with the Rafu Shimpo newspaper. Naomi has also written numerous nonfiction history books and curated exhibitions. She has also written a middle grade novel, 1001 Cranes. Her follow-up to Clark and Division, Evergreen, was released in August 2023. Welcome, Naomi.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here for Murderous March. My husband is a college basketball fanatic, so it's always March Madness, but I think Murderous March is way cooler. So thank you for the invitation. My talk today is called Breathe Life into Our Mysteries, or How Barbie, this is my detective Barbie, got her groove. So how many of you remember playing with paper dolls? Depending on your age, this question either may be relatable or somewhat strange. But paper dolls, here's one, are two-dimensional. They're cute, but they are flat. We can move them around, but there's no doubt that I'm controlling their movement. In writing my many books, I know when I'm getting my characters from point A to point B. It's part of my plot, the investigation. But you know what? That move may just flatten your characters. It's no longer fun for your readers. They know that you are the conductor orchestrating the movement. So what do? You need to breathe life into your mysteries. By breathing out, your books will be thwarting artificial intelligence. Because you know what? Generative AI can assimilate and analyze our words, but robots and computers cannot breathe. So I have kind of a word picture for you. This is an origami balloon that I folded from this paper that I bought from a now defunct mystery bookstore. So let me see how I can do by simulating breathing life. Well, not perfect, but you get the general idea. To give our mysteries life also means we need to embrace our humanity. Yep, I'm talking about getting down and dirty about who we are. How do we feel about our romantic partners, our parents, our children, our friends, those who frustrate us? How do we feel about ourselves? When we encounter problems or conflict, are our tendencies to fight or flight? Do we fight dirty? And if we run away, where do we run to? How do we react to loss? I've been in this business of writing and publishing since the 1990s, from having my own micropress to publish other people's and organizations' histories, to finally releasing my first book of fiction, a mystery, in 2004. I was 42 at that time, and I'll be 62 in May. It's short of a miracle that I'm still writing and getting published, actually selling more books now than before. But the tides of the sea, and there have been some very low tides during the past 20 years of writing. I don't know how many of you have watched the movie Naiad, featuring Annette Bening, who was nominated for an Oscar for her performance. It's about a real-life swimmer, Diana Naiad, who at age 64 attempts for the 5th time to swim continuously from Havana, Cuba to Key West, Florida. It's a harrowing journey of training, including being stung by killer jellyfish, being dehydrated, and circled by sharks. I loved the movie, which I saw earlier this year, and then learned that Naiad had trained for some time at the outdoor pool where I go 3 times a week, the Rose Bowl Aquatic Center in Pasadena, California. Now, I'm not a marathon swimmer. Usually I do deep water aerobics with a float belt around my waist, but I go in the water sometimes at 6:30 in the morning. Naiad's life story is a reminder that to reach our goals requires personal sacrifice. So maybe waking up early or staying up late to work on your manuscript, cutting back on some social events to make sure you have time to write, doing what you're doing today, participating in a writing conference. I also strive to take in one piece of good advice from a conference that I can incorporate in my creative life. NIAD's modified training and failed attempts also tell us that we need to take a step back and reflect when our publishing journey isn't going so well. And it may not be our fault that the winds of publishing have changed or that a new species of shark is swimming in our vicinity. But it's foolish to continue doing things exactly the way we've done them when we are always coming up with the same weak result. So here's some free advice. It may or may not apply. You may get one piece of good advice from me, and if you don't, I trust you'll receive it from one of the other speakers today. So here's the first one. Prepare to write the most high-stakes book that you can. I've seen plenty of reports of writing to market, but I think if you really want to make a splash with readers, write with passion, your passion. What do I mean by high stakes? First of all, high stakes to you. Clark and Division was my first historical mystery with Soho Crime. It was published in August 2021, and most of it was written and rewritten during the height of the pandemic. It was the relationship of two sisters set in 1944 Chicago and dealt with the resettlement of Japanese Americans from wartime detention centers. Well, I don't have a sister. I wasn't alive in 1944. I had only gone to Chicago once before I decided to do this book. And my parents had been in Hiroshima during World War II, and as a result, were not incarcerated in the US. So in many ways, I was writing about what I didn't know. There's a lot of talk about cultural appropriation. I guess you could even expand it to regional or national appropriation. But I think the conversation should be more nuanced because we are fiction writers, right? So odds are we are going to use our imagination to create our books and characters. Regarding this, though, I would say check yourself. When I started writing, someone told me that I wouldn't be successful unless I wrote about white people. And you know who told me that? My own mother. Also, when I was starting out, the hot trend was for young Asian women to write about their parents, usually their mothers, kind of like a quasi like Amy Tan. I chose to write about an old man, a gardener. But I felt called to that because of a living, breathing factor. I loved my father, and he was the inspiration behind my character, Masarai. I spent a lot of time with my father. We chewed the fat together. I knew his kind of bicultural identity, his transnational upbringing. Don't write characters because they seem exotic, or it seems to be the trend right now. Write your characters because you truly care about them. Hang out with people like them. Don't just watch movies or read books. Go to places where they hang out. S.J. Roseanne, and she's going to be one of the panelists later on today, is a prime example of this with her Lydia Chin books. You don't hear a single published Asian American mystery author accuse S.J. of cultural appropriation. Why? Because they're good books, first of all. And secondly, S.J. has put the work in research and travel. She supports Asian American authors. She generously blurbed my first book, Summer of the Big Bachi. She has become a friend. If you can't physically reach your subjects, join online communities. For my book set in Kauai, the Hawaii Book Festival was having online talks with Native Hawaiians discussing their perspectives of tourism during the pandemic. There are ways you can observe real discussions and real issues, especially with the advent of online programming. You can interview people on Zoom, which I did with friends who are little sisters in the shadow of their shining star older sisters, like my protagonist Aki Ito in both Clark and Division and Evergreen. High stakes, too, can be writing about something you are scared of or what other people are scared of. My first book, the mentioned Summer of the Big Bachi, took me 15 years before it was published. It's set in 1999 Los Angeles and features this 69-year-old gardener and a Hiroshima survivor. Like I mentioned earlier, it was an homage to my father. It was risky because I was a 20-something woman attempting to write a 60-something man's experience. It was risky because it had flashbacks of one of the most defining events in the 20th century, the atomic bombing of Hiroshima. It was risky because it's littered with dialect. People either love or hate it. That's another thing. You don't need all readers. You just need enough readers. By what is enough, that you have to decide. Summer of the Big Bocce, a paperback original published in 2004, has cumulatively sold about 30,000 copies in different formats in the US. It's still in print 20 years later, in ebook, mass market, trade paperback, and audio. It got a French deal, and subsequent books in the series were translated into Korean and Japanese. The Japanese edition of the last book, Hiroshima Boy, was nominated for 2 Japanese Book Awards. Books in the series have been optioned for feature films a couple of times. Nothing came of it. So it's not a bestseller per se, but it's sold enough to still be relevant. And it did well enough that 6 books in the series followed. That has led to where I am today. Clark and Division, my first historical mystery with Soho Crime, has sold about double the number of my debut in 3 years' time, and has received translation deals in France, Japan, Germany, and most recently, Russia. It's currently under option for a streaming deal with CBS Studios. That expires in April, so we'll see. I speak about numbers and sales just to share that it's hard to predict anything. So let's go back in the water with Diana Nyad. Stay in the pool and keep swimming. You never know when the worlds and characters you are creating are exactly what the world wants to hear now. My experience is not necessarily prescriptive. I'm not saying do what I did. You need to consider your age, station in life, your goals, etc. You may not have 15 years to work on one thing. I certainly don't now as a soon-to-be 62-year-old. Back then, I could have put my Maserati mystery down and attempt to write smaller, low-risk books. For some, that may be still a better way to go. But generally speaking, especially today, I would say start off your writing career with creating something important. It can still be fun and irreverent, but something that matters to you. Put your individual stamp on it. Pour and breathe in your experience and emotion. For practice, you can write short stories. That's a great training ground. Get them published because writing is only part of the experience. The other part is brought through people reading them. And it's important to have our work be out there in the public for both accolades and also criticism. Dealing with criticism is important. I experienced that as a reporter and editor at a small daily newspaper. This is a time where I went to an actual building to work. Readers knew where to find me. Sometimes they came and yelled at me. Sometimes they asked for retractions or threatened lawsuits. These responses certainly toughened my skin. But I have to admit that it still stings to come across that negative anonymous Amazon review, or to see that your book has 4 solid stars instead of 5. The high school A student in me wants that perfect score to be loved by all, but that isn't going to happen. So let's put our energy in writing more books for those readers who need to read our books. Maybe they're going through chemotherapy treatments and want to read your books. Maybe they never knew their grandmother, and your book is providing them a window to see who they were. These are living, breathing motivations to write. Don't forget them. So back to my first example about getting your character from point A to point B. We write mysteries, so we need our protagonist to move, but don't waste that movement. Don't sacrifice character development for the investigation or solving of the mystery. I'm working on my 3rd historical mystery for Soho Crime called Crown City, set in my native Pasadena, but 1903. I wasn't alive then. My characters are rough models of Sherlock Holmes and Watson. They're Japanese detectives in the post-Gilded Age Pasadena, the oldest city in Los Angeles County, after Los Angeles. My detectives do a lot of investigating, and I have to make sure that they and those they question don't turn into flat characters. Here's again, that's some advice that may or may not be helpful. Find joy in writing the scene. By joy, I don't mean the scene needs to be happy, but there needs to be some excitement in constructing it. That joy can come from research. I was able to come up with some interesting nuggets about a historic train station downtown Los Angeles, as well as City Hall, which was located in a different location than our iconic City Hall of today. Tall chimneys brought to mind the danger of earthquakes, and then made me think of earthquakes in Japan. What would my young carpenter Yokohama be thinking as he gazed upon those chimneys? Joy may also come from making reference to an earlier scene. Like a master stitcher, it's always nice to make a connection with something that was sewn before. And secondly, as you dive into the scene, let your subconscious guide you to real experiences in your own past. As I wrote about my investigator's discovery of a hobo that's what they called them back then, in an abandoned boxcar, I couldn't help but to weave in feelings and images from my own discovery of a loved one in a hoarder's house. Surf on those waves. All of those scenes cumulatively should make an impact on your narrator or main character. With exposure to another new witness or suspect, your sleuth will find themselves challenged, their preconceived notions falling by the wayside. By the end of this novel, I'm sure my character, the 18-year-old Louis from Yokohama, will not be the same character that he was at the beginning of the book. But I do have to say, I'm still in the middle of writing this. And my agent just read it for the first time a couple of days ago. So I'm learning the first third is pretty strong, but that middle, that terrible middle still needs some work. So I'm thinking about transforming some of those scenes where the investigator is questioning people into something that's fuller and maybe a different type of scene instead of like an interrogation. So I still have work to do. Sunday is the Academy Awards when Annette Bening will be competing in the Best Actress category. In the Supporting Actress category is America Ferrera, who alongside Ryan Gosling are the only actors in Barbie to be nominated for an Oscar. It didn't dawn on me until I listened to an interview with America Ferrera that she was the only actor playing a human character in that blockbuster movie about a doll. It was a monologue at the key part of Barbie that garnered her a lot of attention. And I'm going to put here in the chat a link to her monologue. I'll be honest, when I first saw Barbie, I was going, what's the big deal? But then as I started thinking about it and listening to interviews, kind of the light bulb went on. But here's part of America Ferrera's monologue, which I think helped the voters to nominate her for this award. And here she's just talking about the frustrations of just being a woman, that all these contradictory things that you have to do. And this is part of her monologue. But always stand out and always be grateful, but never forget that the system is rigged. So find a way to acknowledge that, but also always be grateful. You have to never get old, never be rude, never show off, never be selfish, never fall down, never fail, never show fear, never get out of line. It's too hard. It's too contradictory, and no one gives you a medal or says thank you. And it turns out, in fact, that not only are you doing everything wrong, but also everything is your fault. I'm just so tired of watching myself and every single other woman tie herself in knots so that people will like us. And if all of that is also true for a woman just representing women, then I don't even know. I would say for all of you writers, both men and women, you probably also feel tied up in knots. There will be moments of extreme disappointment in this world of publishing, but don't let that make you abandon the waters. Maybe change your stroke or get stronger. Enjoy swimming in creativity for all the positive benefits it brings you, including the camaraderie of fellow swimmers. When you least expect it, maybe even during the isolation of a worldwide pandemic, you will find the stars aligning for you. Just breathe. Thank you so much for having me, and I'm looking forward to the Q&A later on today.
Naomi, thank you. That was wonderful. So much to think about. I'm going to listen to this again and again. I'm so thrilled it's recorded. Yes, a reminder to everyone that Naomi will be back with us at 1:15 for the interview. And in the meantime, we will have a break so we can prepare for our first panel. Thank you for being here so far, and we look forward to seeing you in about 15 minutes.
Thank you. That was wonderful.
Don't forget, Naomi's books are available for sale through the link on our website. And I think, there we go. Kim just added the link again in the chat. So it's directly to Naomi's books. Thank you again, Naomi.
Thank you.